This video is going to walk you through how to create a very basic website in NHDWebCentral. This is especially useful if you are brand new to using NHDWebCentral, or if you just like a refresher on all of the various elements that you can use to build a website on the platform. If you're a more advanced user, you can definitely take what you see here and make it much more advanced, much more in depth. But this video, we're just going to walk through the basic features of building a website. So let's get started. Once you've logged in or created a new account in NHDWebCentral and you're ready to get started, you'll open up your website and you'll come to a blank page that looks just like this. It's blank because we haven't added any content yet to it. So the first thing that you might choose to work on is your background. Right now, our container, the middle part or the body, this is where all of the content goes. And then we also have the white on both sides. So we can work on changing the colors of the body and the background, which is the area outside of the body. So we can play around with the colors by going into the toolbar at the top and clicking on the palette icon. This will open the Site Theme Manager. This is what allows you to create a theme across all of your website pages. So once you set your theme, every time you add a new page, it will stay with the same font color, the font style, the background color, all the various different colors that you set here. Whenever you create a new page, the same theme will appear on each page. So this is great that you don't have to start building every single page from scratch. You have at least a theme to work on once you create each new page. But first we have to set it up. So there's two different ways we can do this. You can use one of the preset themes on the right-hand side. These are just a standard theme. So if you want to do a green theme, or you want to do a blue theme, or yellow or pink, you can see as I click them, it changes on the left-hand side these various elements. So we've gone through and created these preset themes, and you can feel free to do that. So if I were to select greens, for example, then click Save, when I come back to my page, I can now see that my body, the container in the middle, is a dark green. On the outside, I have a light green. And as I add more and more content to the page, you can see that my font is preset. Other items like the menus, the colors, and the fonts are preset for those. So you can definitely use one of those preset themes. If you start with the green theme, but you're like, actually, I want to do blue, you can always come back in here, change it, and click Save. So it's up to you. You can just put something on the page to help you see the difference between the container and the background for now, and then just start playing around and going in and making changes later, whatever you'd like to do. But all of those preset themes are here under the Site Theme Manager. You can also get very creative with how you want to organize your page by, instead of using a preset theme, on the left-hand side, going through each of these elements and selecting what you'd like. So which font family would you like to use? You can see all of these various options here. What color would you like the font to be? Then we go to the background. What color do you want the background to be? Right now it's this light blue. Do you actually want it to be an image? If so, you can upload an image to be your background. What do you want the image to look like? Do you want it to cover? Do you want it to repeat? You can kind of play around with these settings to find what you're looking for. The container, what color do you want that container, that middle piece here? Do you want it to be transparent? Then we have our menu. We don't have a menu on this page yet, but if you were to add a menu, you could choose the font color for the menu, the background color if you want it to be transparent. The items in the menu, what color do you want them to be? Do you want them to be transparent? And do you want your menu to be left, center, or right? So you have lots and lots of customization options here, and you can kind of go in, put some stuff in, some settings, play around with it, and then keep coming back in here and making updates and changes. So it's nice to just play around with this, get familiar with it, see what you want it to do, and you can keep making tweaks as you're continuing to build your website. So for now, I'm going to stick with the greens. I'm going to click Save, and it's going to take me back to this page. Now I'm going to show you how to add other elements now that we have some color on our background. So the first thing, I'm going to come over here to the right-hand side. These are all of my building blocks. All of these elements I can just drag and drop onto my website. So for example, I have the title. I can drag and drop a title onto my website. Then I have my preset theme of my font and my font color, which I selected under the palette icon. So it's already preset to kind of go nicely with green. I can also add a subtitle, which is a header, but slightly smaller. And then I can add an even smaller one, which they call header. So you can do a big title, subtitle, header, or you can just do one, whatever best fits your website. So I'm going to put my title in, and my title is The Triangle Shirtwaist Factory Fire, a Turning Point in Safety. All right, so now my title goes all the way across the top. If I want to make my title 2 lines, I could always just click in here and make it 2 lines. But now it is to the left. So if I want it to be center, maybe I want it to be a bit bigger, make sure that your box is clicked like mine is, and then you'll see this menu appear on the right side after you've clicked your text box. I can go down to font. I can change the font size. What if I want to make it like 60? I can change the spacing. I can make it bold or thin. I can play around with that piece of it. I could change the color of it if I wanted to. I could change the way it's organized, if it's left, center, right. So I'm going to make mine center. You can choose to underline it or not. But you can play around with all this. Even if you wanted to just do your header title in a different font, you could just change that here. So maybe I want it to be in cursive. I could do that. So whatever you'd like to do, you can just get that by playing around with the font elements once you've clicked on your title and it's outlined in blue. So that's how you know you're working on that section. So this looks good to me. So now I'm going to move back to my blocks, and this is where I'm going to add some more elements. So the next thing that I want to add is a navigation bar. So the navigation bar is required. Some students choose to do a navigation bar, which is like a menu. Other students choose to do buttons at the bottom of the page that take you from page to page. You could do either, you could do both. You just need to have some sort of navigational element. So I'm going to drag and drop in my auto navigation bar. So this creates a menu automatically of all of the pages that currently exist on your website. So I have a few pages here. And as you continue to add pages to your website, these pages will automatically appear in your navigation bar. So you don't have to worry about linking your pages as long as you drag and drop a navigation bar onto the top or bottom, wherever you want to put it on each of your pages. So that's nice about NHDWebCentral. Once you add pages, they will automatically appear in your navigation bar, and that's why we call it an auto navigation bar. So you can see here, I have my navigation bar. So the next thing that I want to do is I want to add a photo and some text. So to add a photo, maybe I'll do that first. I'm going to come over here to my blocks. I'm going to drag and drop in an image. So right now it's blank, but I can double click on this box and I can upload something that's currently in my file library, or I can double click here to open up a folder on my computer where I can grab an image. I already have the image I want to use in my file library, so I'm going to click on it, and then I'm going to close this box, and now I have my image. Under here I have some text to add my source credit. So this is so I have my image, I have my credit underneath. But what I notice here is my image is awfully close to my navigation bar. So we do have something up here called sections that you can drag and drop, which creates space in between your various elements or sections. We also have a spacer option too. So these are two different ways that you can start to add space between elements if they seem that they are a bit too close to one another. So now that I've added my image and I've added my source credit, I now would like to add some text onto my home page. So I'm going to go back to my blocks and I'm going to drag and drop in some text. On our homepage, we have required homepage text that we need to add. So I'm going to double click in my text box, and this is where you put your student name or names, your division and category, the length of your student composed words, the length of your multimedia, and the length of your process paper. And then you would add in how many words or minutes each of these elements are. But you see here that when I go to type in my text box, everything's a little spaced out and it's to the left. So just like we did with the title, we're going to make sure our text box is highlighted, and you can tell it is because it's blue, which opens up this menu on the right-hand side. We're going to go to font, and I'm going to center it. And then I want to make sure that my line height is smaller. So you can keep clicking that little down button until it's how you'd like it. You can make it a little bit bigger too by doing the up arrow. So you can use the up and down arrow to adjust the height of between the lines of text. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to click save. Remember to save often because NHDWebCentral does not automatically save. And now I have everything that I want on my homepage. I have my title, I have my navigation bar, I have a photo, I have the required homepage elements. The only thing that I might want to add is a navigation button at the bottom. This is not required, but many students like to do this. So to add that, I'm going back to my blocks, and there is an option to add a navigation button. So I'm going to drag and drop the navigation button underneath my required homepage inclusions of my name, category, everything like that. So you see here that it automatically goes to the left. And I think I want mine to be centered. So here's a tip on how to make sure things are centered if you would like them to be centered. Sometimes you can just click it like with the text, and you can use the text font to align it to the center like we did here. But for elements that aren't text, that are a little bit different, a tip is to go to the blocks, scroll down to the easy layout section. And this is where you can control what your page looks like. So right now we just kind of have everything centered. But what if you want to have 2 columns or 3 columns or 4? What if you want to have columns that are larger on one side or larger on the other side? So if I were to drag and drop this in, you can see that I have a small section here and a large section here. So you can play around with the formatting of the various elements under this easy layout feature. But a tip is if you want to use the flex box, this allows you to be flexible with how you're adding elements to your page. So I added a flex box, which creates 2 columns automatically. I can drag my navigation button into one of these boxes, and I can get really creative with how I want these boxes to be spread out. So I'm actually going to delete one of the columns, and now I have this box with my navigation button in it. And it is flexible, so it allows me to move it around, but it also allows me to center my elements. So if I want my navigation button to be in the center, I can just pop it in a flex box, and I can be very flexible with where it is on my page. So I dragged and dropped in a flex box, I moved my navigation button into one of the flex boxes, and that enabled me to just go back to the font section, and I can play around with where I want my text button to be. I don't want it to say nav button. I want it to say enter here. So I can edit that by just highlighting the text and changing it. Then you want to click that little link that appears to link it to the page, your next page. But I haven't created my next page yet, so there's nothing to link to. But just remember to come back to that to make sure that all of your pages are linked correctly if you are using these types of navigational buttons. Again, it's not required, but if you do want to use it, make sure they're linked correctly. With the auto navigation bar at the top, you don't have to worry about linking that one because that automatically updates when you start adding more and more pages. So those are your options there. One more thing before we move on to the next page is the navigation bar itself. If I double click on it, I can see the pages that currently exist on my website. So if you want to make any tweaks to the order, if you want something to go underneath something else, if you want whatever you want to do, double click on the navigation bar at the top to open up the page editor, and it kind of helps you order the pages in whatever order you'd like, or if you want to make some pages sub-pages, you can play around with that here. I don't have enough pages yet, but once you do, you can start to play around with them in a way that makes the most sense for your website and your viewers. All right, I'm going to close. I'm going to save again because remember, NHDWebCentral does not automatically save. You need to save changes as you're going through. All right, so I've added all of my homepage elements that I'd like, and now I would like to add a new page. So to do that, I'm going to go to the page section at the top, and I'm going to click Open Manage Pages. And I am going to create a new page called Thesis. So the page name is the page the computer calls it, so that will be in the URL. The title is the title of the page, and that's what will appear in your auto navigation bar once your new page is added. You can choose to do a template, so if you want to do one of these 3 template options, you can do that. If not, it'll start as a blank green page like we saw with this page. And if you'd like to duplicate a page, so if you like how your home page is laid out, you could click Duplicate your home page. And as you start to add pages, you'll see all of your pages here. And you can choose to duplicate pages that you already have if you don't want to start totally from scratch. Again, remember the colors that you set will follow from page to page, but the formatting you'll need to update on each of your pages. So if you just like to make copies of existing pages, you can do that, or you can start each page formatting from scratch. It's up to you. So I am going to not do that. I'm just going to click Add Page, then I'm going to save. Now I'll see a new page in my drop down, and you'll see that it is also green because the palette has transferred. So any new page I create will have the same colors and fonts and everything that I set here in the Site Theme Manager. If I were to make a change, it would make that change across all of the pages. So this is going to be my thesis page. So I want to add a header or a title at the top that says thesis. Then I want to make sure to add a navigation bar at the top so that my viewers can go from page to page, and I'm going to click Save. Now I want to add some other elements. So something that I want to do is I want to add some video and I want to add some sound. So to do that, I am going to come down to my blocks, and there's an embed MP3, MP4, or PDF option. So I want to add a video and a sound clip right next to each other. So I'm going to come down here to the Easy Layout section, drag and drop my flex box, which again creates 2 flexible boxes for me. Then I'm going to come up here and drag and drop my Embed MP3, MP4, or PDF button twice. So I have 2 files next to each other. Looks like it's going off the page, but don't worry, we'll fix that. So now I'm going to double click on one of them to upload my sound and my video files. You can either double click here to open up something from your computer, or if you already have it in your file library, you can just click on it, close out of the box, and because we have these in flex boxes, we can adjust how we want them. Same with here, I'm going to double click to do my video, and now I have a video here, and I can adjust if I want it to be bigger or smaller, or if I want this one to be bigger or smaller. You can play around with that. So here, I might make it a bit tinier. Here we go, centered. So there we go. I like how that looks. Now I want to add in a source credit for these, so I can drag and drop in some text underneath to create my source credit. So that is how I add my flex boxes, how I add that multimedia with my MP3 file and my MP4 file. And now the last thing that I want to do on my sample page here is I want to add some more of those navigational buttons. We added one on the home page, but sometimes students like to add 2 buttons, one to go to the next page and one to go to the previous page. So to do that, we're going back to Flexboxes, and I'm going to go and drag 2 navigation buttons into my flex boxes. And this will say previous, and this will say next. And then I can link them to whichever page is necessary. But remember, I only have 2 pages, so I can link it to my previous page, I can link it to my home page, but I don't yet have a next page to link to. So once I create my 3rd page, I'll need to make sure to come in here and link this by clicking on the link and selecting which page to link it to. Again, these buttons are not required, but so many students like to use them. This is how you'll use those. If you just want to use the navigation bar, that will automatically update once you add pages and automatically link them to one another. All right, so speaking of our navigation button, now that I've added a page, if I want my thesis to be second, I can drag and drop. So my home page is first, my thesis is second. Save and close, refresh, refresh. And now you can see here that it goes home, thesis, and then I have some extra pages here. If I were to view this in view mode, I can click here and it takes me to my thesis page, or it takes me back home. So that's how that auto navigation button will work. Now that we've added a second page, we can link them as well. So now if I were to view this, I could click enter here and it would take me to this page. And if I go to previous, it will take me home. Either option works, but just remember with the buttons, you need to make sure that they are linked correctly. The auto navigation, you do not need to. All right, and I just want to add one more element to show you how we do this last piece, which is adding your process paper and your annotated bibliography. So I am going to create a new page called Process Paper and Annotated Bibliography. And I'm going to add page. I'm going to save, and then I'm going to go to that. First, I'm going to add in my title, and anytime I add a new page, I'm going to drag and drop in my auto navigation bar. And now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to upload a PDF of my process paper and a PDF of my annotated bibliography. So I would like to put my process paper first and then my annotated bibliography second. So I'm going to drag and drop in the embed MP3, MP4 or PDF, double click. I don't have my process paper or bibliography uploaded to my file library yet, so I'm going to click here to go to my computer. I'm going to go to my downloads, and I'm going to upload my sample bibliography and my sample process paper. Double click and go to my process paper. So now I have both uploaded. So I'm going to click process paper, and you can see here it's added it to my page. I can stretch it across my page. I can make it longer. I can do however I would like to set this up. And then I'll follow the same exact process for my bibliography. So I'm going to go back here, drag and drop the embed PDF, double click, insert my bibliography, and then I can adjust by making it longer. I can make it a larger up and down. I can also choose to make my process paper smaller if I would like to. And if I want to add some space in between the two, I can always drag and drop in a section to do that. So it's up to you how you'd like to organize it, but either way, you just drag and drop in the embed MP3, MP4, or PDF, double click, and upload a PDF either from your computer or from the file library that already is on your website files. We're going to jump back to our home page. But first we're going to save, then we're going to go to our home page. And I know some students like to add an image to their background rather than a color, like here we have green. So I'm going to show you quickly how to add an image as a background. This might not be something you're interested in, but it is a great way to modify the design of some of your pages. So if I go to click Edit Theme, and then I come over here to my left-hand side, I can go to the background section, and under Image, I can select one of the images that I have from my file library. And then I can choose how I would like it to be in my background. What I can also do is make this green section transparent, which makes it look like you just have an image for a background. So what I mean by that is, I'm going to click Save. You can see here what that looks like. Now that I can see that, I can choose, maybe I want to change the font or the font color, or I want to change some other elements of my page to kind of match my background. But that's how you'll add an image, is by going here into the palette. You can come here and instead of picking a color, you can choose an image from your file library. You can set your container. You don't have to make it transparent. You could click Save, and you could have this box here with the picture on the outside. It's up to you. You can play around with it. But this will make a picture appear across all of your web pages. So if you just want to do it for one page, you can. This is how you would do it across all pages. So if I were to do that, any page that I would go to would have that same theme because I set it in my Site Theme Manager, the palette icon that allows you to change the theme across your entire website. If you just want a certain page to be a certain way, you can click one of the boxes on your page and all of these settings will appear. We've been using the font one to adjust the font color, the sizing, all of that, if it is it left, right, or center, that sort of thing. But you also have other options here. And if you go into decorations, you can change one page's individual background color. You can create borders and you can add a picture. So if you come down here to background, you can add an image. So if you just want a certain page to have an image, this is where you would do it. Find it in your file library, and then this page will be the only one with a background image. So again, here you're setting it across all pages, but if you would like something on an individual page, you're going to go down from this menu into decorations. All the way at the bottom under background is where you can upload an image to set it as your background. And here you can also choose how you want it to be. Do you want it to be repeated? Do you not want it to be repeated? Do you want it to be left, right, center? How big do you want it to be? Do you want it to scroll as you're scrolling down the page? Do you want it to be fixed on the page? So all of these various options that you have when you're just doing it on one page. So something to give some thought to as you're building your website.